because when I got out, everybody was focusing on the resources and stuff outside of prison. Once you get out here, it's game time. So you ain't gonna have the luxury of time to try to do all that preparation.
Justice conversations. We talking back and forth like it's just us in conversation. Let's start the conversation. It's just my observation. They run this nation with hatred like we not one creation. Maybe we all in the matrix. I need some confirmation. You feel these streets getting hotter like it's summer vacation. Justice conversations.
Good day, good day. I am Thomas S. Robinson III, Executive Director of the Justice Center. Welcome to the Justice Center podcast, Justice Conversations. Today, we are honored to be joined by Mr. Kardell Sims. Mr. Sims is a 13-time author, an entrepreneur, an expert in the area of reentry, and a person who has lived the experience himself. I believe you will enjoy and be intrigued by this conversation with Brother Sims. Well, good day, good day. Welcome, brother. Welcome to Justice Conversations.
Oh, welcome. Appreciate you having me.
Man, it has been a long time. I have tried to be doing this thing. And one of the first people I said I wanted to talk with was you, man, because I saw your work on LinkedIn, and I was like, man, this brother's powerful, man. What I didn't know was a little bit about you in terms of where you were born and raised and that kind of stuff. Tell our audience that.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Sedalia, Missouri, not too far from Kansas City. We kind of central Missouri, to be honest with you. Yeah, I grew up there, Sedalia, Missouri, probably about a town of 30, 40,000 people, born and raised there.
Yeah, and you were a baller.
Yeah, played basketball. I grew up playing basketball. That was one of the first two things I really loved as a teenager was, and it's crazy to say this, but at that point in time was the game and basketball.
And how far did basketball take you?
Oh man, basketball took me a long way. I ended up going to college, junior college, ended up going to junior college. Then from junior college, I initially signed a letter of intent to play with UNLV, but because I had caught an assault case after I had got the intent, and had to go to the county jail, I lost that scholarship. So I ended up going down and playing in Carrollton, Georgia, University of West Georgia.
So is the UNLV, would that be before Greg Anthony and them, or would that be after?
That'd be after. That'd be with few NBA players at the time when I went down there that went to the NBA would be Keon Clark, Tyrone Nesby, Sean Marion. They was on the team that I was supposed to be on that team.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so now we got to talk. We got to talk because one of the things we like to talk about here, well, we don't like to talk about, but we have to talk about it, is what we call the school to prison pipeline, and others call the school to prison pipeline. And that's the phenomenon of kids being pushed out of school into the streets and then into the prison system. But you graduated from high school.
Right. Yeah. I kind of got in a sense, I kind of got saved because I was on that pipeline. Everybody I went to school with, all my friends I was hanging out with, grew up in the projects. They had already dropped out. I was on the verge of dropping out. I called an attempted murder case at 15 years old that kind of saved that from me dropping out of school.
Wait, how did an attempted murder charge keep you from dropping out of school? It seemed like it'd be the opposite.
Yeah, it seemed like my mom had me when she was 16 years old. I got a older sister that she had at 13. By the time we was teenagers, I was involved in the gangs. My mom was addicted to crack. So when I caught the first degree assault attempted murder case, what it did was took me out the custody of my mom. Because I could play basketball, I had a lot of coaches, AAU coaches, high school coaches come speak on my behalf in the court proceeding, explaining what my mom's situation, my father wasn't in the picture. And so what that did was the judge, instead of sending me to do a lot of time in juvenile detention up until I was 21, they gave me a stipulation to go into a foster home, and I had to graduate. That was the stipulation. I had to graduate high school. If I didn't graduate high school, they would revoke my probation, and then I would go do juvenile, and then I wouldn't have been able to move back with my mother. So my whole goal was to graduate high school just so I could move back home with my mother.
Oh wow, that's deep. And so you graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
Is the attempted murder charge now gone, or is it still pending?
No, it was gone, but I was still a ward of the state because I had went to a foster home, so that I was state. In a sense, I was state property. I was a ward of the state. So what happened was, as soon as I graduated high school, the next day I moved from my foster parents' home to back with my mother, and I got involved back with the streets and everything. But I had a junior college scholarship to play basketball right there at home. So
Yeah.
what I did was just kind of live the double life. The morning time, I was doing all the school stuff, classes, basketball practice, the workouts, study all. Once all that was over, I was involved. I was on the corner, on the block with the game and things like that.
Well, looking back, man, how do you see that? Because if you got, you got that educational tie, you have something to live for, you got the future, you got the basketball. So when you look back and you analyze, like, why was there such a tug of war between the gang stuff and the basketball and the goals and the aspirations? Where did this tug of war come from?
I always just felt I had the mindset that I was a product of my environment. I'm growing up. I felt like I belonged in the hood. I belonged with the drug dealers. I just felt like that's where I belonged. That's where I felt comfortable at. And I didn't really have a lot of hopes and dreams, but like I didn't plan on playing no college basketball. I just played basketball, and then the letters started coming in. And so my coach was like, man, this is a perfect opportunity to. And so because I wasn't doing that in high school, that's how I ended up getting to junior college because my grades was just, like I said, I was on the verge of dropping out.
So, man, hearing that, I got to say that there are a lot of particularly young black males like yourself in a situation, and that may be their friends. My friends were my friends too. But the reality is, like, we got to reach out to them and figure out what to say to them so that they don't get this tug of war and be torn by that. What would you say to the young Kardell? Has experience and wisdom given you anything that you would suggest to him, or would you let him do his thing?
No, I would. No, I definitely wouldn't let him do his thing, knowing what I know now. I would just tell him don't
Okay.
let the limitations of his background reduce the height of his potential. Uh, if I could say one thing, to be more focused in on the basketball throughout college, because basketball it came easy to me. I just had to God bless me with that ability. So I wasn't a hard practice person. I practiced, but I didn't give it my all. Basically, I was just going through the motions. If I would have gave it my all, I could have took it a step further. I mean, I was first team all conference, honorable mention all American and things like that. And that's just going out there playing after really spending a lot of time in the streets and stuff like that.
So focus on what could be a meal ticket for you. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. So then what
Hmm.
happens then, man? You got this thing going on at daytime. You one person, you like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. What happens next?
Yeah. So after my sophomore year, I ended up, like I said, I ended up going down to University of West Georgia. Coaches and everyone was like, "You need to get as far away from Missouri as possible." So I had a friend who I played junior college with that was going to University of West Georgia, and he's like, "Man, come on down here, man. We can use you." So I get down there. When I get down there, I just continue the same thing. I had a couple guys on my team who's family members in the streets, kind of connected with them, start doing the same things, same routine, and just got bigger and bigger in the streets to the point I would ask people to come to the basketball games. A lot of people didn't believe I was in college. A lot of people didn't believe that I was on the basketball team. They were like, "Ain't no way you out here doing what you're doing. There's no way you playing college basketball." But in reality, I was. They come to the game and they see how I play. I scored 20, 25 points. And then that in the street life I was in, it brought more of the street guys because they see me as a ticket to go to the NBA.
You hear, and I've seen. I'm an old man. Um, where when a cat like you, the cats who were in the streets, whatever they were doing, banging, whatever they were doing, they see a cat like you and they'd want to protect that, and say, yeah, stay out of this, man. Stay on your ball thing. That wasn't happening, or it was happening. You were ignoring it.
Nah. Yeah, they some people might have said something, but Tom, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was gonna do my thing regardless. I'm just hard headed. Coaches, just kind of give you an example of my mentality. Then you know, back then, people used to people still wear chains, but in sports, you wear your necklace. It got a little basketball on it. Might be a Nike sign or something like that. Well, if the chain I wore said Thug Life, so they kind of tell you, yeah. I mean, me and the coaches used to get in it like, man, why you wearing this chain? And It's
Yeah.
like, this is who I am.
Well, were you in Pac? Were you into Pac? Because Pac had it tattooed on him.
Yeah, I was in the park. Yeah. Yeah, I was in the park. I mean, just the music I grew up on it was just like, I'm from the Midwest, so we grew up on a
Okay.
lot of West Coast pop, SIBO, a lot of different gangsters in a sense. So yeah, that was just part of who I was at the time. But I was a huge Pac fan.
You went into the system, you got spit back out. That don't happen a lot, right? How did you end up back in it?
Yeah, I got a in my story you hear I had several chances, right? Some people say second chance. I'm kind of like on fifth, sixth chance, right? Now, so as soon as my basketball season was over, my last game, NCAA tournament, we lost. I dropped out of school and just dedicated myself full fledged in the streets, trafficking drugs from Georgia to Missouri. And so end up getting to Missouri, end up catching a drug trafficking case back in my hometown, sat in the county jail for like 6 months fighting the case. Because of my college education, they gave me probation. But in my mind, I already knew I was going to go through the phases of probation because I watched a couple of my own boys go through them same phases. In Missouri, what that meant was when you on probation, if you drop one dirty, they send you, like if you drop a dirty UA, they send you to a outpatient treatment that you go check in 2 or 3 times a week. While doing that, if you drop a dirty UA, they send you to a 30-day inpatient. After you do the 30-day inpatient and you get out and you drop a dirty UA, they send you to a 120-day prison program. And so I went to the 120-day prison program. Once I got out the 120-day prison program, I went right back to the same neighborhood, same block, same gang, just like I did when I got the probation. When they let me out the probation, I went right to the block. And that's how I ended up going to the prison program, going through those phases. So when I get out the prison program, I go back to the block. And within 3 months, I catch another drug and gun case. My probation gets violated. They send me to prison while I'm fighting this new case. I go back to the county jail because I'm going to trial.
Oh
I
my
went to
goodness.
trial on this case. So I end up going to trial. Yeah, I end up going to trial and I lost.
No doubt.
I got sentenced to 19 years. Yeah, I was tripping. Was very arrogant at the time. And so I ended up losing in trial. Got sentenced to 19 years. So I go back to prison. So this is gonna be my third trip going back to prison, right? When I walk in this prison, they send me to a supermax. And when you walk into prison, it's shut down now. It's a museum. You can find it on TV shows. They do ghost hunters and stuff like that inside this prison, Missouri State Penitentiary. But when you walk in there and receiving, there's a sign written in red letters on the wall that says, "Leave all your hopes and dreams behind." So that's what I did. I had 19 years sentence at 23, 24 years old, walking into the worst prison in Missouri.
So, a little introductory story, right? Did a short film, and in the short film, it's a conversation about this cat who came out after doing 10 to the door on armed robbery. And his first night out, he's having a conversation with his nephew, Little Homie, right? And Little Homie says, what's prison really like? Because I be seeing everybody on FaceTime and they just be in there chilling, right? Unc tells him, about the horrors of prison, but sort of underlying his question, I found, is that they be in there just on FaceTime chilling. So the going through the beast in the belly of the criminal justice system and being spit into prison, it doesn't move one to change lifestyle?
Depending on what type of prison you go to. You go to a lower level of prison, most likely you're gonna return because it's all fun and games. For prime example, when I went for the maximum, when I went to my parole hearing, which was the fastest parole hearing in history, I wasn't ready. They told me I had some more years with them, and they asked me that I want to take institutional behavior treatment because of my prison record. That was my whole parole hearing, probably 2 minutes. The guard dropped me off. He went to the restroom. I came out the room before he came out the restroom. He was like, "Man, go on in there." I was like, "I already been in there." He was like, "Oh, that ain't good. I ain't never seen nobody go that fast." But once I did that parole hearing, my custody level dropped. They gave me a 4-year out date. So my custody level went from supermax to a lower level. Well, when I got to the lower level, they had pool tables, punching bags, a lot of people just sitting around. They ain't trying to fight their case. They ain't trying to get no time back. They just out there they just gelling, having fun in a sense. Like you said, they sitting around FaceTime and chilling, right? But in the Supermax, yeah, in the Supermax is different, right? Because it's a whole other different ball game, different politics. You got people in there trying to get their time back. You got people who got 5 life sentences, ain't never come home, that ain't in here to play at all.
But we're going to get to the stuff that you're doing, but you are a reentry expert, one might say. You're a practitioner at the minimum.
Oh yeah,
You practice in the area of reentry and
yeah.
trying to solve this situation of us going into prison and coming out and going back into prison and all of that. You work in that area. So when you're working in that area, how do you address the young brothers and sisters about this phenomenon of being in prison chilling? Um, um, how do you address, that aspect from a reentry practitioner standpoint?
I address it through my story. Sitting around chilling gonna get you sent back because I've been in prison 5 times, 4 times in the state, 1 time in the federal. Not to count the countless 10 or so plus county jail trips. So I tell them all the time, my first 4 prison trips, I didn't do nothing but chill. And when I got out, I went right back to doing the same thing because I didn't prepare myself for my release. The only time that I prepared myself was my last prison sentence in the feds. Stopped reading hood novels, started reading more knowledge of self, science of self, goal setting, business books, personal development books, consciousness books. Had a vision board, affirmations. I was taking programs.
And for you, what was the origin of that transformation?
Standing in the federal courtroom with 37 people from my block, my neighborhood. They handed us all an indictment paper, and at the top of the indictment paper it said the United States of America versus Kardell. I was 35 years old at the time with a fresh federal case and a bad criminal history. Those who've been in the federal system know the federal system, they sentence you off 2 things: the case that you caught and your criminal history. So where them 2 lines meet at, that's how much time you're going to get. And so, yeah, I was just standing in the federal courtroom, and when I was looking at that indictment paper, only thing that came to my mind was why I keep finding myself in these situations. The only answer I came up with was I keep putting myself in these situations. And so right then and there, I made a silent oath to myself that if I got the opportunity, because at this time when I caught my federal case, I didn't know if I was going to get out of prison again or not. But I told myself, if I get the opportunity to walk out of prison again, I will be better than I was standing there that day.
So what fueled you talked about this sort of moment of transformation? What fueled you and what fuels you now to be a successful reentry story, be an example to others, help others to be successful in reentry? What has fueled this process?
I used to be in federal prison. I used to see guys revoke their federal probation when they get out and come right back. And they used to talk about how hard it was to be on federal paper and everything like that. And I used to tell guys, well, when I get out, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to come back and teach you all how to do it. And so that was just part of my plan.
Okay, so you got a mantra, man. I understand that successful reentry begins on the inside of prisons and inside oneself. Tell me about inside oneself. What are you trying to say there?
Yeah, inside oneself, like personal development. One thing about prison is, like, a lot of times people just look at the act would send someone to prison. What we know to be true is that majority of the people that go to prison has dealt with some type of adverse childhood experience, some type of trauma. They got a test called ACEs test. Got 10 questions on there. If you get scored 3 out of at the least 3 out of 10, you're dealing with some type of trauma. The questions might be, did you grow up in a household with both parents or single parents? Did you get sexually abused? Did you get physically abused? Did you witness a parent or somebody get abused? So these are the questions. I scored 8 out of 10, right? So the inside of self is you have to take the initiative as the residents. You have to take the initiative to figure out the things that you need, that you want, that's going to help you become a better person. They're going to help you get situated. I knew when I got out of prison, I got a homeboy who's the mother of some of his children was a PO. And when she seen that I was doing right and doing what I'm doing, she pulled me to the side and asked me what can they do, because they got to do programs that high risk uh, recidivism offenders who get out. They give them $500 a month. They give them a phone. They help them pay for first month rent, last month rent. They help them find employment. On the flip side, the people have to take classes. They have to call in to see if they got to drop a UA every day. And what was happening was these people weren't showing up to the classes, the counseling sessions. They weren't calling in. And so she had to call them all in and have them write out their own warrant. And if they missed any more of those things, they was going to have to go back to prison. Well, I told her, well, that's just a mindset thing, because I can go into prison and find 10 more people who got the mindset to come out and take advantage of this program, which would be a great base for them to start their journey of reentry. So when I say reentry starts on the inside the self, it's on the individual to really sit back and start doing personal development, start understanding what their needs, their wants, their beliefs, their personality type, start understanding these things about themselves. Because one thing about it, prison's gonna have programs and stuff like that, but they ain't gonna make you go. You're gonna have to get up and go to yourself. So outside of going trying to get a GED, outside of that, they're not gonna make you go to no program. So that's where it starts, on the inside of self. You got to start taking the initiative to get the resources and help that you need.
Now, one of the things that you are is an entrepreneur. And that really is of the top things that folks need to be looking at coming out and walking the reentry journey is, how am I going to get some cash, some bread, some cheddar? What made you turn there versus, hey man, I'm just going to take another path towards money? What made you turn to entrepreneurship?
Overall, just the freedom to control my own destiny and self. That was just part of it. I didn't come out of prison, go straight into entrepreneurship. No, that wasn't the case. But I knew what type of jobs I was going to take to help me out in the long run. So in my personal development phase, I knew I wasn't taking no factory job when I got out of prison this last time. Why? It was a trigger for me. May not be for the next person, but for me, it's a trigger for me to jump back in the streets. I got ADHD. I can't stand in no one spot for no 8 hours a day in no factory. Usually I'm gonna take off walking around the factory trying to see what's going on, right? And so, and that leads to me quitting or getting fired, which was all the excuses I need to jump back in the game. It done happened several times on my running in and out of prison. So this last time I told myself, well, to order for that not to happen, don't go get no factory job. Don't even put yourself in a position to go get no factory job. So when I got sent to the halfway house out of federal prison, they sent me, when I got to the halfway house gave me a bus pass and list of jobs, told me go find a job. All those jobs was factory, $25, $21, $22 an hour. They only had one job on there that wasn't factory. It was telemarketing. It made $11 an hour.
Now you started out speaking for free, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I started out speaking for free. What I did was, as soon as I left out the halfway house, I had one life coaching diploma. I had wrote some books while I was in federal prison, so I had them typed up with physical copies. As soon as I left the halfway house, I went and got my business license. I got a job at Dollar Tree at 5 in the morning to 10 in the morning, Stockton. And right next door to it, they had a sporting goods store called Hibbett Sports, and I would sell shoes from 11 to 7. I knew these people who had an event center that they would let me use. So every other weekend, I would host my own speaking engagement for free, but I would sell my books, and I had a T-shirt with a logo on it, so I would sell them there. And I did that for, I did that for a long time. And then I saved up enough money to move. I couldn't go back home, and I didn't want to go back home, which was another personal development thing, being real with myself. Every time I went back home, I went back to the block, went back to prison. So I said, well, I'm not going to go back home this time. And so I went to moved to a few hours away, and I got a job in marketing and promoting. Well, I used to go around Missouri and Kansas to Home Depot, Sam Clubs, Price Shoppers, all these stores, and I would ask 1,000 people, do they need any home improvement? You need windows, doors,
Yeah.
roofing, siding, right? 985 people would tell me no. But it was a good thing because I learned how to accept no
Yeah.
and not take it personal, right? But I also learned how to maneuver no in the business sense. So when COVID hit, my mentor told me to write a book about my life. He was like, man, you writing all these books. You need to write a book about your life. You got a crazy story. And so I wrote this book called Inmate the Inspiration. And it took off for me. And then from there, I started the podcast, The Reentry Journey. And that's how I started building my network. And as soon as I got off federal paper, I was on state parole, state probation, and federal probation at the same time. So I got off all of them at the same time. As soon as I got off that, somebody who read my book, they had a company who got the first ever formerly incarcerated motivational speakers grant to go back into federal prisons. And they asked me did I want to be a speaker. And that's where I started to branch off into full-fledged entrepreneurship because I got paid for every prison I went to speak. And they paid for my room, but I had to pay for nothing. And in the process of doing that, I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing. That's when I started on the Inside Reentry Academy because I knew the answers from what I felt like was the answer of what was needed in prison, but I needed the data. And so I had surveys and they only had one question, what's needed in prison? 92% of the answers was we want programs ran by those who've been through it. And that's when I started building on the Inside Reentry Academy.
Tell us about the work on the Inside Reentry Academy.
Yeah, so what on the Inside Reentry Academy is, like we talked earlier, our motto is reentry starts on the inside of prison and the cell. And so that's what we do. We bring and focus on bringing programs on the inside of prison, many different programs from personal development, entrepreneurship, communicating your story through reading and writing, literacy programs, caterpillar simulations, heavy equipment programs. So we bring all these programs and we focus on programs inside of prison because when I got out, everybody was focusing on the resources and stuff outside of prison. Once you get out here, it's game time. So you ain't gonna have the luxury of time to try to do all that preparation once you get released. That's why you're moving on the inside where you got all the time in the world. Now the individual got to take it up on themselves. If we supply, because residents, I've been to prison, I was an inmate, I know how I go. Oh man, it ain't no programs, it ain't no programs. Well, we eliminate the excuse now. Oh, another excuse was, oh man, I was there. How you gonna tell me about changing my life and doing this and you ain't even been through it, right? So now I kind of just got rid of all that. I got a lot of people that in my network that's part of the academy. Majority of us is formerly incarcerated, successful stories. So now we kind of eliminate all excuse. We bring in the programs, and the program is ran by those who've been through it.
Now, you also got a nonprofit?
Yes, I got a nonprofit. I have 2 for-profit companies and a nonprofit. Nonprofit is called the North Organization. The North is the acronym for Northside Organization, Reinvent and Honor. I started that to help rebuild my old neighborhood and community that I destroyed, and me and my team destroyed when we was in the streets. Every time there was a drug bust, a house got tore down, houses was getting burnt down, bringing down property value. So my goal was to bring back that value and honor to their neighborhood. So we do a lot of community events. We got a lot of programs for the youth. We sponsor and help out a lot of people in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's really good, man. My work in the criminal justice system has led me to the conclusion that because those folks who are walking a successful reentry have gone through a transformation process, they're almost the best people to reach the school to prison people who one ain't hearing nothing, 2 would respect someone who's been there, but 3 need to hear something that's transformative. So it's dope that you are connecting the reentry process to the youth process, man.
Yeah, we got a program called No New Numbers. And No New Numbers, we call it that because every time you go to prison, you get a number. That's what you're known for as prison. So what we have is a at-risk youth program, No New Numbers, where we focus on social and emotional learning. And then we connect with like programs like Youth Build and things like that, who can get them like CNA certified, get them heavy equipment operations certified, and get certified in many things, and then go into the work field instead of going to prison. So there, we call it no new numbers.
You said social and emotional. What do you mean by that?
We help them do deal with being able to socialize better, based on respect, empathy, things of these nature, emotional learning from emotional intelligence, because what we know is without that emotional intelligence, it leads to an impulse decision that can cost you 30 years in prison just of not understanding and not having that emotional intelligence. So we focus on all those sides of the program, how to handle authority, how to deal with authority, things of that nature.
So now, you said you started out podcast hosting pretty much early on, right?
Yeah, yeah. Before podcast had started, before podcast became into what it was now. Yeah,
I, so podcasted, I would imagine there's a lot of testimonials that could be part of a podcast. But when you are talking reentry, um, I think of employment. You did it with the entrepreneurship. I think of housing, and I don't know what in the world is going on with our approach towards housing for reentry. It seems like we're lost. What is your understanding of that?
I mean, I think it's not just reentry. Housing is a issue just in United States. Period. So when you add someone who's coming out of prison with a background, it gets even worse. And so yeah, it's just not enough housing, and it comes down to contracts. With contracts is like you're starting to see a lot of formerly incarcerated people getting into sober homes. You got to have the funding for it, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's the main obstacle. You have private prison companies who have no problem with paying you. You know what I'm saying? They have no problem with the funding, but when you're dealing with the states really they don't really allot a lot of budget to go into housing and things like that. And so if they don't get to a transition center, you don't get to a sober house or a halfway house that are let me say that are up to par, because some of these transition centers, sober homes, halfway houses, going in there just like going back to the dope house. All right, when I was in the Fed, it was so many people that was coming back to prison getting caught with guns in the halfway house.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing from you, it seems like there's a lot of it that's saying it's on the individual. And so I'm a criminal justice practitioner. I've been a judge, I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense attorney, and I have watched people say, "Ah, them judges ain't no good. They unjust. They racist." Some of that might be true, but then I've heard the judges say, "Don't you come back to me no more. Don't you come back to me no more." And they sincerely want the person not to come back. I mean, they're not trying to say, we want to see you again. They absolutely are warning people, don't let me see you again, because if I see you again, you're going to go further in the belly of the beast and you're not going to like it. So, what I'm hearing from you as someone who is a reentry practitioner, and some would say a reentry expert who's lived the experience, it seems like what you're saying is a lot of this, man, is on the individual.
Yeah, to me, I'm going to say 90% is on the individual. Um, yeah, you're going to have those judges. Uh, yeah, your circumstances, situation may not be the best. But especially living in today's society, when technology has empowered everybody. And so it just really just you taking the time to really buckle down, getting to know you, and making and putting yourself in a position to walk out of prison and be successful. And the success ain't just talking about like I ain't talking about a lot of money. I'm talking about putting yourself in a position to where you don't have to go back to committing crimes or handling your substance abuse or getting your mental health. All these things is steps that you have to make. All right. A lot of people say, well, the prison, they don't, they supposed to, the prison, the system does what it does. The system does exactly what it's designed for. If you get the tripping, we're going to lock you up. And,
Mm.
and, and then there's collateral consequences that come with you being incarcerated. Oh, you're a
Mhm.
felon. You can't do this. You can't do that. That's part of the system.
So under Trump 1, we got the First Step Act, which was reentry, second chance type stuff. I haven't seen anything since that. If we was to take the second step, what should that look like? The second chance, second step act,
Yeah, housing,
housing.
building out more housing. Like the First Step Act is cool because it is focusing in on, okay, if you're doing something while you're incarcerated, we're taking programs, you're doing something with your time, we're gonna start giving you credit for that. It's gonna go against knocking off time of your sentence, or gonna go against crediting you time to get early release and things like that. And the first step had been in motion probably since probably like I got out of federal prison 2017. So it was in motion probably like 2015, 2016. It just didn't pass until Trump came in because
Yeah.
it was getting shut down by a lot of Republicans. So then when Trump came in, let's go. But that's the good thing that it does. But the problem is now is when people get released, where are they going? Halfway houses, full transition. Like a lot of these places, you got to be on the list a year early. So when it comes to your time, they have a bed for you. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
they
it
ain't got no
seems that the
bed for
stigma
you.
is still real.
Yeah, you still there, right? So that's just that. Like the second chance would be housing and more leniency on getting your record expunged. Because the expungement is big, especially when you're trying to go into, like some people can't get health insurance because they got a felony, a certain felony. Some people can't get housing assistance or nothing like that because they got this felony on their record. So when you're going through, and a lot of these are not federal problems, like if you got a Fed case, a lot of these are state case problems, state mandated problems. So once you be able to have a better expungement process to where people who can get this off their record, then that helps out in a long way when it comes to getting certain resources that they might need.
Yeah. What's your vision long term for what you want to do moving in this reentry marketplace?
My vision is to create a second chance operating ecosystem. That's where I started the other company. So like I said, I got two for-profit companies and I got a nonprofit. One of my for-profit is the reentry consultant, speaking, authoring, and everything like that. But my another company is a tech company. And what I did was build the tech company. Me and my co-founder, he's incarcerated, been incarcerated 30 years. Me and him was the youngest in the Supermax back in the day. I ran into him a year and a half ago going to do a TEDx inside of prison. And he was working on the audio. It was a lower level prison, but they brought him up from the Mac to do the video and audio. So I ran back into him, asked him what he's like, man, I've been coding for the last 10 years. Ended up mentoring him because I mentor a lot of people on the inside. So I ended up giving him my information, mentoring him. He started teaching me about coding. So what we did was we started this company, Block Elevate Technology. We got a team of formerly incarcerated coders. And what we're building is a second chance operating ecosystem. It's going to be in competition with the Secures, the Vipaths, the JPay, and things like that. Yeah, but it's an overall ecosystem. When correctional institutions people call me in to train them, one of the biggest problems they have is, and this is in reentry period, everybody works in silos. Nobody comes together, works together, and put together an ecosystem for the incarcerated person. And so what we're doing is we're putting together the ecosystem through an app on the tablets or whatever, to where everything that they need, they will be able to get access to education, workforce development, applying for jobs, mental health, healthcare. All of this stuff is on this platform. As soon as they get incarcerated, they put their information in, and I don't care how much time they got, they reentry plan automatically starts from doing their medical checkups, from education to workforce development, all these different things they get. And it's not something that's missing in corrections, it's something that's not focused on. Everybody who gets locked up, they go through a diagnostic center. The diagnostic center is basically going to ask you every question in the book. Have you ever thought about committing suicide? What's your family like? Do you got any drug or substance abuse? What about your home plan, your education? They're gonna ask you all these questions. Prisons fail because they don't act on these things. They don't create a reentry plan based around those answers that's given to you. And so only thing they focus on is two things. If you ain't got a GED, they're gonna make sure you get a GED because they need you to enroll in G classes to get the funding. And medical. If you say you have some type of trauma, stuff like that, they ain't gonna go with you to a psychiatrist. They're gonna send you to medical. Medical is gonna give you a pill, and then in 6 months to a year, you ain't gonna know your name, who you are, nothing. All you're gonna know is when they call med call, and you're gonna come busting out of your cell to go to med. So what we did was we built a tech system that does what they're supposed to be doing, and it kind of takes, and all the staff have to do now is just log in on their side and see the plan that have been built out through our system for each individual. And it ain't just for the residents; it's also for staff as well. A lot of people don't. A lot of people overlook the fact, and I don't, because I go into prisons and I work with and I train staff. I do assessments and everything like that. So every time we bring programs, staff always talk about why the residents get the good programs, why they get. So we started bringing them programs. So that platform allowed them to take same resource. They get access to education, and where they want to move up in employment, health, all of that. So we're just basically building a ecosystem for those incarcerated and their families, telecommunication. They'll be able to call, video chat, send text, but all of that's free. Nobody on our platform that's incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, or their families will have to pay for anything that has to do with our platform.
Wow, that's fabulous, man. So my biggest hope for this interview, man, I've gotten the first one, and that's just to meet you and talk to you, man. It's been an honor. But my second is that somewhere, someday, there's a young man who's looking at you like I am, and who says, man, I like that brother, man. I could see myself, I'd like to be like that brother, man. He knows what it's about. And look where he's been through and look where he's got now. I want to be like him. And he's looking to you with those eyes. What advice would you give him? What thoughts would you give him? What's your parting thoughts to that young brother? Little homie, by the way.
It ain't hard to do. You just got to be willing to wake up the day in and day out and do it, and focus just on that. And no straddling the fence, none of that. You wake up every day, know what you want to do, and you set goals and you do it day in and day out, even when it don't look like you're making no progress.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Well, I appreciate you, bro. I told you I ain't gonna take but an hour of your time.
Oh man, I appreciate you all having me.
An hour in the future.
Oh, that's fine with me. Yeah, I talk reentry work all day.
Yeah, me too, man. I enjoy it. I understand. As I said, I've been in this beast for 30 years, man. And if we don't touch reentry in a real way, we won't have criminal justice reform. We just talk it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Did you want to direct the folks to any of your websites or any of your social or anything like that?
Oh yeah, you can just my website is www.kardellsims.com. I am Kardell Sims is all my social platforms. Follow me, reach out to me, buy product, services. I mentor. If you got somebody on the inside, you're a family member, you got somebody on the inside, they need a mentor, reach out to me. I don't charge to mentor formerly incarcerated or incarcerated people at all. I probably mentored over 200-300 people up to this date. Right now, I'm just incarcerated or formerly incarcerated. So just reach out to me. Any questions you got my have, can anybody answer? Feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, my website, KardellSims.com. All my socials is I am Kardell Sims.
All right, we will be in touch, bro, man. It's been an honor. You be peace, man.
All right, thanks for having me. You have a great day and peace. I look forward to having many more conversations.
Thank you for joining us for another Justice Conversation. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on your post notifications for more updates, and follow us on all social media platforms. Be peace.
Let's start the conversation. It's just my observation. They run this nation.